Hey guys, Ben here. Welcome back to another live stream. Today we are here with Eric for the DCTV show, episode 59. And we've got lots of stuff to talk about today. Obviously, Armageddon Part 4. We've been talking about it every week. There was Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Now we're on the 4th episode. And we have one final episode left of The Flash and of the Armageddon crossover before we go on a long ass break, which is a big shame. But it's going to be a good episode next week. And, they released a trailer, and I'm sure you guys are very excited because I think we can all say Armageddon has been pretty damn good. Like, it's definitely exceeded my expectations, to be fair. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. So welcome to everyone who is just joining. We have Nathan in the chat, Cal Roswell, Maya, Abby, and for all of you guys who are just joining, remember, as always, if you want to contribute towards the channel and get your questions answered throughout the live stream, please be sure to send them in via Super Chats. And that's obviously your questions, topics, theories, any ideas you have. Me and Eric are going to be answering them. And obviously, we'll stop when you guys send them in and we'll go over them. So Eric's going to be here for about 40-ish minutes or so. And we're going to be jumping right into The Flash. Obviously, there was the Superman and Lois trailer this week, so maybe we'll get to that a bit later. But yeah, if you guys have any Flash questions, start sending them in right now. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So Eric, Armageddon Part 4, general thoughts.
I think this is probably, as far as like a full episode, this was my least favorite episode out of the four of them. I love the stuff with Eobard. I love the stuff with him and Barry and the stuff with Damian and Barry. And I loved some of the Iris stuff that happened. But overall, I thought that the stuff, unfortunately, with Alex and Chester and Ryan was completely unnecessary in the episode. It felt almost like, why are we doing this? There was a lot of teases for what happens to our characters in 2031 that we know is never going to happen because that's a future that's just going to get erased, most likely. So I thought that was like almost a waste of time because I don't know if any of that's going to carry over. It may. We'll have to see in Armageddon Part 5, but I don't think it will. But I loved all the stuff with Reverse Flash. He's my favorite character. I love Tom Cavanaugh. That was really the characterization of Reverse Flash is spot on, 100% accurate. His evil plans, how just, how much he wants to be petty with Barry. I mean, that's his character, which I love. And obviously getting to see Barry as the Reverse Flash was really cool as well. I mean, even though I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but, I guess, we're going to talk spoilers. Can I go ahead and say spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the first topic anyway.
Right. I was going to say the fact that he is the Reverse Flash, but he's still our Barry. I don't know. I kind of wanted him to be evil for a minute, like just to be the Reverse Flash, but it's fine. I love the suit. The fight scenes were good. All the fight choreography was good. The VFX, everything, all that was really strong. I just can't say it's my favorite episode because I really enjoyed episode 2, which I think was still my favorite. And then this would probably be at the bottom. It would be like 2, 3, 1, and then 4. Only because I'm a stickler for details, and I think this episode had a lot of big glaring issues with some of the storytelling in it. That's all. So
remind me what kind of happened in Part 2. Like, what was the big thing?
Part 2 was where we get all of the information on Despero.
Jefferson, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we get a bunch of information on that. The only weak part about that, I think, was that a lot of people said that Barry was he was getting kind of too angry or something, like with Jefferson and everything, trying to get rid of his powers and stuff. But yeah, no, this is probably my least favorite of all of them.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, especially with the Allegra stuff, because I have to agree. When I was watching the episode, I was like, we're in 2031, and these aren't the normal versions of our characters. So is there really much point in exploring them that much?
There wasn't. That whole entire subplot wasn't. Yeah.
And I get the point. I get what they're setting up. Like, they are teasing, 10 years ago something happened. And what is 10 years from 2031? Well, it's this year. So something is going to happen with Allegra and Chester, which they've teased you know, for quite a while
Right.
now. And, you know, there is, for me, there's still this disconnect between the two of them because, you know, I feel like they don't actually really know each other. They've been like maybe
Right.
hanging out a bit, but just like the fact that she keeps on calling him Chuck and like doesn't know his real name.
Do you want to explore the relationship to show how forced this is? Because it's really stupid. Okay, so we get to 2031 and Alex walks in and she's like, I'm paraphrasing here, but she's like, Chester, how dare you ghost Allegra 10 years ago? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? So that didn't make any sense to me anyway. Secondly, the fact is that almost everyone except for Chester did not look older. Chester looked like he was older because he had longer hair and stuff, but no one else really looked.
Allegra looked like she was the same age. She's not 10 years older.
Exactly. In 10 years, people look a lot different, especially when you're going from like your mid-20s to your mid-30s. So anyway, there was that. And also, I'm like, why would you even bring it up? Like, what was the reason for bringing it up, especially in the midst of everything that was happening?
That's why.
It was a reverse setup. That's what I was thinking. It's a reverse setup. They did that so that way, when we come back to 2021, we will feel like they are destined to be together. That's what they're trying to tell us. Secondly, the second thing I want to talk about here is if you go on a date with someone who you're friends with, right? Mm-hmm. And you wake up and they're not there. And according to Chester, he went to get breakfast for them or whatever. Wouldn't you just text them? Or wouldn't you be like, hey, I just woke up. Are you okay? Mm-hmm. Like, this wasn't a one night stand. This wasn't like they met on a dating app and they hooked up and then the other person disappeared. This was literally someone that she knew. And the fact that when he came back, wouldn't he call her and be like, hey, I'm back with breakfast. Where did you go? It doesn't make any sense. It's the dumbest, most ridiculous, like, that's why I had an issue with it. It was just stupid. And it was there to set up some sort of destiny for them to be together. Like this, you know, romance for the ages kind of thing. Like they're like Barry and Iris and, you know, Oliver and Felicity or whatever. It's just, it was dumb. And it felt out of place in the episode. And I'm sorry that Alex had to be a part of that.
Yeah, me too, man. I was like, okay, so I don't think I put that much thought into it, like, since the episode finished, but now you bring it up, I feel bad for Alex that she had to be involved in this because really it's all about setting up. Like, it's so painfully obvious what they're doing. It's like, yeah, this was supposed to happen 10 years ago. So when we go back and the timeline's changed, this is going to happen. Maybe not straight away, but you know it's destined to happen, as you said.
And the other thing is that Alex had a really good intro because she had the weapon that she got from John was able to like stop Barry from being able to speed, and that was like, that's a really powerful weapon. Where did she go? They could have used that again. Like it was just,
but yeah, like you were saying, the whole, you know, Chester Allegra thing, like, oh, you know, Chester left, and you know, what the hell happened there? Well, it's like you said, it's so obvious that if they're best friends or really good friends,
and they work together,
someone going away isn't going to make one difference, you know?
Right, because if you're mates with someone, if you are someone that hangs out with someone or works with someone, and you come back, whether it was a one night stand or not, and they're not there, you would most certainly question why.
Yeah, it's a silly excuse to set this up, I think. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, we got a super chat from Cal as well. Thanks so much, Cal. Cal's also a member of the channel. I appreciate the super chat. And yeah. Do you have anything else on Allegra and Chester? I mean, we can.
It was poorly used in this episode. My big regret with this episode is outside of the stuff that happened between Eobard, Barry, and Iris. Mm-hmm. Most of it was just pointless, unfortunately.
Yeah, like it doesn't set up much. Well, no, actually, wait, it does set up, but it was just like, what's the point? Why are you setting up with these future characters? You know, who are going to be different.
I would rather they just disappeared. Like, I would rather them just not have been a part of the episode if that was what they were going to do with them. Because poor Ryan Choi. Like,
what the hell was up with him? That's in my notes.
Yeah.
He's a literal bro. Like, he was set up to be a nice character in Crisis. Mm-hmm. Then he shows up here and he's like, oh yeah, what relationships and stuff, like I don't know. I was like, what the hell was going on here? As soon as he talked for the first time, I was like, okay.
So keep in mind that shows the one thing that I gathered from that, and this is a very important point when we get to the time travel stuff, is that showed that Ryan Choi had been changed beyond the events of 2021. Meaning that when Eobard talks about going back and setting Barry up to be the Reverse Flash or whatever, like that affected like the people that were in Team Flash. But we know Ryan Choi had a family. He was a completely different character than the one that we had in 2031. Meaning that whatever Eobard did affected people outside of Team Flash, which means that that kind of makes the time travel stuff a little wonky for me. So Ryan is a different character. Damien Dark is a different character because his life is different. So there are differences in these characters. So that's a big issue for me. And you're right, poor Ryan. Like he's a college bro. Like he's well, I say bro like a smart college bro, but he's like, oh, what about love, about science, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And then he gets the one scene where we get to see the suit in the darkest scene in the whole episode.
One scene, yeah. What was the point? Like, it was such an anticlimactic setup for the suit. There was no setup. Literally, he shows up and then it's over.
And it was dark. We got a better shot of the suit in behind the scenes photos.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Canada Graph's got better photos.
Yeah, I was disappointed in that.
But yeah, let's move on to the next talking point. So let's talk a bit about the opening. So the opening obviously started where we left off, and we had Thorne facing off against Barry, and everyone is like, what the hell is going on? Like, why are you here? And well, actually, wait, no, it starts without Barry there. You get to see a little
the beginning
bit
of it before he arrives. Yeah.
And then Barry arrives. And when he arrives, everyone's freaking out, like, what the hell are you here? You know, they're looking at him like he's the Reverse Flash. And it turns out he is, in fact, the Reverse Flash in this new timeline that Thorne has created. Obviously, this instantly, like, just seeing Iris with Thorne, Barry knows straight away Thorne's done a flashpoint. He's changed everything. He knows it. You can see it in his eyes. And so then you get the reveal. He runs away. And he's like, I'm not the Reverse Flash or something. I don't know what he exactly said. But he runs away, comes back, and he's in the Reverse Flash new suit, not his normal suit. And at that point, we get something else, which we'll talk about in a minute. But thoughts on Barry in the new Reverse Flash suit and thoughts on the new suit. And you guys can chime in on the chat. What did you think of the new Reverse Flash suit?
I mean, we talked about it for a while in the after party last time. I think it looks great. I think he looks great in that suit. I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to be using that suit, you know, moving forward. There are some people arguing like what happened to the old suit if this timeline was erased or whatever, but we realized that we've gone through this before. The season 5 suit, season 6 suit should have been gone after they, you know, changed the history or changed the future from one of those time travel things. Anyway, if they make a new suit, we're going to use the new suit. It doesn't always make sense within the concepts of trying time travel. I will call it out, but it doesn't make it's whatever. I loved it. I thought it was great. It looked great in motion. Are we talking about the fight scene itself, or are we going to do that in a moment?
We'll talk about the fight scene in a minute. Just really,
I loved him in the suit. I'll put it that way. It looked great. Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah, so then after that, we get the reveal that Thorne has in fact made himself the hero. He's made himself the Flash. And he comes out in the Flash suit. Do you think that is Grant's suit, or did they make a new suit?
I think it was Grant's suit. I mean, so here's the thing. They have said that those suits are wildly much cheaper than the other suits are to make. And they can make them faster because of the new way they make their costumes with that material. So it is quite possible they made like multiple suits, but it also looks like that material is kind of stretchy a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe it has a little bit of give in it. Because I know that when Stephen Amell wore it, it looked a little bit too tight on him. Because I know some people complained it just the shoulders size and everything was too small for Stephen Amell because he's got wider shoulders than Grant does. But in this one, it looked perfect. Like Like Tom looked great in that suit, and you know, we know for sure there's going to be you know, more shots of him in the new Reverse Flash suit. So I don't know if they made 2 of each or not. Not totally sure, but yeah, looked great.
Yeah, I thought it looked great, and I do think it is Grant's suit because I don't think it fits as well as it does on Grant, like for instance. And you could, but it wasn't obvious,
Right.
like with Stephen Amell wearing Grant's suit. I think it was more obvious because you know he's very strong, very dense, he's built up, and you know it's pretty obvious that it didn't exactly fit him. But here, I think it looked cool, and I just love the twist that you know he's not only won, he's changed everything. He's taken Barry's wife, he's taken his life, he's taken his superhero costume, he's taken his title. He even got struck by the same lightning bolt that Barry was supposed to be struck by.
Yeah, he totally manufactured everything. So
absolutely everything. And so then it proceeds. We have the big fight at the start with the Flash and Reverse Flash, and obviously Team Flash helps out. Well, this new version of Team Flash, which includes Alex and Ryan Choi as well, and it was pretty much confirmed that Batwoman was just like visiting for the you know, for the ceremony, because Iris and Thorne were due to get married the next day.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. So yeah, what do you think about that? And you know, I want to get your thoughts specifically on one scene that doesn't make sense, but I thought it was pretty cool, was the suit up, and you know, you literally saw the camera go around him.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues about that. They were like, okay, so you could argue that maybe Batwoman and Sentinel all have like nanotech suits. You could argue that they do.
Yeah.
But where did Iris's weapon come from? That's the old gun from like back with Harry Wells. So where did that, like, did she just have it there? Like, did they suspect somebody was coming?
Alex's makeup and Batwoman's hair.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think they were trying to have a cool moment, like, you know, like one of those heroic moments where the camera moves around and all of a sudden everybody's in their fight poses or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. And I know a lot of people were upset that suits didn't change. Like Sentinel should have had a new suit and Batwoman should have had a new suit. But if you look at the amount of time they were given in the episode, it just didn't make any sense to give them a new suit. I mean, maybe they could have put like a different belt on it, or maybe gave Batwoman different hair, something to sort of make it look like it was 2031. Because honestly, if you would have told me that was 2021, I would have been like, yeah, I mean, it's 2021. Like nothing in that scene, in that world, looked like it was 10 years ahead, you know? And if you think about it, like even the Flash suit, I think would have changed from 2021 to 2031. Especially with Ryan Choi being there, because he's the one that designed the nanotech suits. So.
And if Ryan Choi is the one who designs the suits, I think he could do a better job with his. I don't know. It just looks kind of basic, you know. Even I'm just comparing it to Ray Palmer's suit, which looks really.
We have to go back and look. Some people were saying that Ryan Choi's suit is literally a Flash suit without things on the head.
Yeah, it's literally just the same material. It's like very flat.
Yeah, but they said even the boots and the pants and the shoulders are all.
Do you think that they tried to save money on it because they knew that they were probably going to need it like once a year, like they did with the original Superman suit?
Yeah, it seems like they just used pieces from like previous things to make it, which is why it was probably so dark in that scene. That's most likely the reason. But
yeah, I think because they knew, oh, we're not going to use him like a bunch of times this year, so you know, maybe if he finds a recurring role on a show, maybe they will, you know, give him a new upgraded version.
The only way that wouldn't be the truth is if we find out after next week's episode that something gets changed again, and Ryan Choi ends up being like a part of Team Flash in present day, and then maybe they might do something different. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But talking of Ryan Choi and talking of you know, everything that went down. So there's talk of dead people, and they say that Reverse Flash, Barry, killed a bunch of people, okay? He killed Ray, he killed Sarah Lance. Who was the other person?
Nate,
that was it, Nate. And then suddenly the big reveal, Cisco. Thoughts? That was a big reveal. That was
huge.
It
was a big reveal, and I think what that spoke to is why everyone on Team Flash hates Barry Allen.
Yeah.
Right? But my question is, and we'll get to this with the time travel stuff, is what happened to the actual Barry Allen from 2031?
Yeah, that's true.
Because ours this is our Barry. And like any other time, with the exception of like one time that I can remember, and I think it was back in like season 2, does a character actually replace themselves in time? And that usually happens if it's from their starting point. Like if our Barry runs to 2031 and then runs back to 2021, it's the same Barry. Like there aren't two of him.
Because but if our Barry from that period of time.
But if our Barry travels to another time period, whether it be in the past or the future, there's usually a second Barry.
Yeah.
So 100%. What happened to the actual Reverse Flash?
He was chilling. He was on his couch. He was just, watching TV. He was watching Supergirl. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit confusing for me, because if you think about it, if there was a version of Barry that was that ruthless, it's clearly not our Barry, which means there's something else that happened to this other version that caused him to do it. Because one of the arguments is Eobard went back to 2020. We're getting too far into this, but we'll talk about this more later. There is a issue with the time travel part, unless you want me to go ahead and explain it now.
Go.
So Eobard traveled back into 2021 to sabotage Star Labs and to kill Joe, and then kind of go wild in the city to make it look like it was Barry, right?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people assumed that was because he was trying to frame Barry for being a villain, right?
Yeah.
But Joe wasn't killed by Barry in 2021. That's a mystery. Nobody knows what happened to him. Second thing is Star Labs, the sabotage in Star Labs, nobody knew that Barry did that. Even if, like, the only thing that made Barry look crazy was when he attacked all the people in the city. And even then, that wasn't enough to kill off Team Flash members. So this 2031 that we're in is not the same timeline as the one that we're coming from. So Eobard running back to do all of that makes no difference whatsoever, because he had already done a reverse Flashpoint. There was no reason for him to do any of that in 2021, because it was another Barry completely in the 2031 timeline. True. So I'm confused. Where's that Barry, and why did Eobard come back into this timeline to do all of that? What was the reason? He would have done it to the other Barry Allen, the one from the 2031 timeline. So
entirely true. I think these are just like, okay, so sometimes I think with time travel, they're like, okay, this would be cool, and then they're like, yeah, screw the rules.
No, that's absolutely it. That's what I said, is like, these are issues that I have with the episode, which is why I don't rank it higher. But some people don't prioritize this. They just want to see
I mean, I take that in mind as well. Because it's a show like this, I guess it has to kind of make sense in some way. But yeah, I guess they didn't think about it.
I mean, the other option is that this version of the Reverse Flash, the one that we meet in 2031 when Barry becomes Reverse Flash, is like Eobard was, where he was trapped outside of time and he's a paradox. I mean, you could argue that might be what's going on, but I don't know. Maybe,
but yeah, I think it's definitely a plot hole that they just forgot to somehow even reference or show.
It was still cool. It's still cool. It was cool with the lightsaber battle in last season, so I'll give them that.
True. Yeah, so I think one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode was, and I don't know about you guys, you have to let us know in the chat, and if you have any questions or anything to do with Reverse Flash, because we might move on in a bit, because I kind of want to talk about Iris. Please be sure to send them in via Super Chats if you have anything that you want to bring up to me and Eric. But we have that big scene with Barry and Thorne. And now this is after Barry, goes to the apartment and confronts Iris pretty much. And so Thorne takes him away. They're outside. I thought the lighting was really nice. Yeah. It was really cool.
That was a great scene.
I think it definitely highlighted their suits, which was very cool. And we got literally everything was revealed. And so it was just like Thorne boasting, boasting straight to Barry's face, and Barry's like, "What the?" He was like,
"Take this L. See this L? Take this L." Like,
he literally was just like, holding the L in his hand. But yeah, what did you think of that scene? I thought that was a great scene.
So
Definitely.
this is why I miss Tom so much, right? Because
Mhm.
Tom and Grant have such good chemistry on the show. And the one thing I loved about the scene was, in all honesty, it took me all the way back to season 1, because this reminded me of like when Barry and Eobard kind of are always talking with each other and trying to get the best of each other.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that going on. So I love the characterization here. I think they nailed it. This Thawne is probably, in my opinion, the most accurate Thawne we've had since like season 1. Because we've had lots of versions of him. This one felt to me like the one from season 1. So I love that part of it. Also, what I loved about this was, that poster. Yeah. Is that the one that moves? There's one that moves, actually.
There is.
Yeah, if you go to the actual Flash page, like the CW Flash page, it moves on that. Like go to see that one. Like pull it up. It's great. It's great. It's right there. Like,
oh, cool.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my god. Yeah,
that's amazing. Because it's like they're fading together. Yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, I love that part of it. And there was a bit of like Eobard echoing what Barry did to him, because Eobard is like not only did I create my own flashpoint or reverse flashpoint, but I also went back in time and killed you, right? So
I forgot about that.
Yeah, those are two things that Barry has done to him. So because Barry did his own flashpoint, and Barry managed to like erase Eobard from history or whatever, or the future. So this was Eobard finally getting like everything that he wanted. This was, like he said, it was his perfect world, right? So
literally his perfect world. It was crazy. I forgot about that. I can't believe it now that you mention it. Like, yeah, Barry was phasing out of his existence like all episode. I don't know if that's accurate how fast he would have gone. Like, would he have gone?
It wasn't.
Sooner?
It would have gone sooner. Yeah, that was another issue with it. So, I in my review, I said there's like 3 different timelines we're juggling here. There's the 2021 timeline, there's a 2031 timeline, and then there's some undeterminate timeline where Eobard erased Barry from existence, which is now replacing the 2031 timeline, which should have replaced the 2021 timeline. Again, it's very confusing. But the thing is, any other time we've seen Eobard erased, it's almost instantaneous. Like at the end of season 1 and on Legends of Tomorrow, when it happened again, it also like it was like almost an instant erasure or whatever. Why would it take 20 some years for Barry to be erased from existence? That doesn't work for me. It's a good ticking clock. It's a good way for them to build tension. Like you have till the stroke of midnight Cinderella before you turn into a pumpkin or whatever. That's a good ticking clock. But again, this is another thing that I think they thought was cool, but it doesn't really work within the rules of their own world. So
yeah, I definitely think that, that was something that came to my mind. I was like, this taking a weird amount of time compared to normal. So
I think it was an unnecessary addition, to be honest. I think the reverse flashpoint
there was like
enough.
A lot going on in the episode already. So
I think the reverse flashpoint was enough. I don't think killing Barry was necessarily I don't think they had to have it.
Yeah, but it was definitely like the icing on top of the cake. Like that it was like, oh my god, this is totally screwed up. Like Barry can never stay in this timeline. He has to fix it. But maybe a bit unnecessary because it definitely felt a bit separate.
I think they were just trying to like push home the fact that Eobard is just evil. Like he's pure evil. And I think that's what they were trying to prove. And we've been known that, but I guess they wanted to make sure we knew it. Like, so they went the extra step. It was kind of like Eobard again, reclaiming everything that Barry had taken from him. So I get it.
Yeah. Okay, we have a couple of super chats. One from Radical Z, which definitely fits in. Did Reverse Flash do some intense chucking?
Well, which Reverse Flash are we talking about? I mean, we all know that Barry's Reverse Flash would definitely chalk.
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna 100% chalk. Like, the version, not Barry that we saw in the episode, but the 2031 Reverse Flash, who we didn't see. He was just chucking the whole time. That's why
he has a vibro chalk. Like that's how he defeats his villains. He has the vibrating chalk. So
he's like,
too bad we'll never see it.
Chucking on those villains.
Yeah, we'll never see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Radical, that's where he was doing some chucking. chucking on those
That's
haters.
probably why they couldn't put him on screen, because it would have
Yeah.
been like, it would have demonetized the whole show.
For sure. And Radical Z sends in another super chat. Thanks so much. Radical Z says, cue the Agatha theme. So true. Like, literally, I think I said that last week. I was like, and it was reverse flash. Oh la la. It's so true. Like,
It is
exactly what happened. Like, I mean, if you look at WandaVision and how Agatha was revealed, like, things were happening, but you weren't sure exactly what was going on.
Despero was the misdirect. Totally, Despero was a misdirect for us for the first 3 episodes.
Oh, for sure. Like, he's not really the main villain at all. It's Reverse Flash who's caused this. He forced Barry to create Armageddon, and Despero was just blinded by the fact that he wasn't in the future when Armageddon actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he left right as it started, I guess. But yeah, it was literally Reverse Flash all along. And, you know, the first scene, I think maybe someone should edit it. Like, when he reveals everything, you need to have the Agatha
play the theme song playing in the background. Yeah. By the way, before you take this down, I want to point out they have them in the gold boots in this, which means that we're going to figure out when the gold boots are going to happen at some point in this
next episode.
Yeah,
for sure. But you can see the gold boots down here, guys.
We also know that the next episode, based on the promo, without any spoilers, that time is kind of screwed up now. So we're gonna see a lot of weird stuff, I think.
Time is screwed up. See, I haven't watched the new trailer yet, so
yeah,
that's my fault.
Well, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna spoil anything it shows in the trailer, but yeah, something
you
is
kind
going
of
on with
presume time's going to be messed up because every time they made a huge point in the past by saying every time someone changes the timeline, there's always huge consequences. So it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to those changes because
it's also interesting to me that Reverse Flash told Barry back when he did Flashpoint that you shouldn't do it because you forget everything. And then after 10 years, he didn't forget anything. So I think that's another huge plot hole. But
do you think, oh no, but he did the lightning, he got struck, and then, you know, he got Team Flash and everything. I was going to say, do you think he did it and then just ran 10 years in the future? But that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't because he knows he's lived his life as the Flash for 2 decades. So
honestly, how many years has he been alive? He's been spending 10 years here, 10 years everywhere.
Well, can we talk about the fact that, I'm just curious. Let me look. I want to look this up quickly before we get any further here. Let's see. Tom Cavanaugh, wow, he's 58 years old. I didn't realize he was that old. So he's 58. I'm going to assume that his character Eobard is probably in his late 40s, early 50s when we meet him back in season 1. Maybe even supposedly older than that. I don't know. Wouldn't he look a lot older by 2031?
I would say he gets a pass.
Does he?
Because I don't think he would look that much different, to be honest. Maybe he's going to be a bit older, but... And also,
going from 58 to 68 is very noticeable if we're talking about age. It's...
But not for an actor.
I guess not. But I will say, yeah, there, like we've said before, the 2021 to 2031 thing is a little weird. I don't know why they decided to do that, to be honest. I guess, it was, if you think about it, other than being a nod to the comics, it was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because if Eobard did a Reverse Flash thing, they could have made it 1 year later or something like that. They didn't have to make it 10 years later. So which also begs the question. So Eobard was dating Iris back in 2014, 2015, and they didn't get married till 2031?
Apparently. Doesn't make much sense. But maybe he was the streak for longer and things didn't happen exactly the same.
See, my impression, I thought that things did happen the same because we had Crisis. We had all these things that happened.
I agree. It seemed like it, that they were hinting that. So do you think this version of Thorne battled Savitar, the Thinker, and everything?
Probably. I would guess that everything played out pretty pretty similar. Some things didn't, though, because we know Ryan Choi is a different character. We know Damien Dark had a different life. And we also know that Cisco died. Nate died. That also begs the question, how bad of a Flash was he? Think about it, because because Barry hasn't lost that many people, right? But Eobard somehow let the Reverse Flash kill off.
Or Reverse Flash Barry was so good.
I mean, that's the other option, right? Yeah. The other question is, if Reverse Flash Barry is connected to the Negative Speed Force, how? How is he connected to the Negative Speed Force? Because Eobard came from the future, and he created the Negative Speed Force to try and be the Flash, right? So how is like Grant Gustin's Barry Allen the Reverse Flash? Where's that story at? I want to know how that happened. How did he make him the Reverse Flash to begin with? Because he said he made him the villain, which that leads us back to like the 2021 stuff where he made the Flash look evil. But then that's definitely not the same timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely some plot holes. Okay, let's move on. Canada Graphs is here. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for the super chat. Canada Graphs says, are either of you an Earthworm or Steve Carlsberg?
Who is that?
I don't know who Steve Carlsberg is, but no, I'm not an Earthworm. Eric, can you confirm if you're an Earthworm or not?
I'm definitely not an Earthworm. And it's only Steve Carlsberg that I see as a singer. And I don't. Welcome to Night Vale. I don't know what that is. Okay. No, I'm neither of those. Cannot confirm it. So I guess I'm denying it.
Yeah, well, I'm not an Earthworm, but I can confirm that I'm a Sandworm from June. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, Canada Graphs. And yeah, we even mentioned you earlier, just saying. Maybe we should watch it back. Okay, we have another super chat from Radical Z. Radical Z says, OMG, if all the changes to the CC Citizen are gone now due to the timeline being messed up. Also, Eric said 2 villains would rise from the ashes.
Eric Wallace said that, yeah.
Yeah, Eric Wallace, not you. So do you think... Okay, so what do we know that's changed? I think we can talk about it.
What do you mean? Like
in the trailer?
No, not that I could see. Nothing. Okay. I think they're being very secretive about what's going to happen. So, I mean... Are we talking about just the Citizen, the media group now? Is that what they're talking about? Or
I think he's talking about like, the new changes they made with introducing CC Citizen. They have all the writers, they have staff and everything.
I don't think it would be in their best interest to get rid of that storyline. I think that storyline is really good. It would be awful. If they did that, I would probably riot like online. Yeah. I would definitely be upset because this week's episode, the version of Iris that we got was not our Iris. This is the Iris from 2031. So she wasn't exactly the same as the Iris that we knew. Although towards the end, we find out there's some love thing going on. I don't know if we're going to get to that or not. But the Iris that we have in 2031 looks like she was not close to the Iris that we had. She almost felt like subjugated by Eobard. Yeah. Like unlike Barry, who kind of wants her to have her own life as well, Eobard seemed to be very adamantly controlling of her, which is very different. So I will give him a pass on that. But seeing that Iris reminded me of the one we had prior to season 8.
Me too.
And I don't want to go back to that one. I want the one that we've had for the first 3 episodes.
She definitely felt different because, she is a different version of Iris. So, props to them for making her feel different. But like we've said in the last couple of streams and the after parties, we like where Iris is right now, and it would be great if they continued the Citizen because she feels like an actual proper journalist. And was it last week where we said that she was doing really good, or was it the week before?
Oh, she's been doing good every week, but last week was the week where we got the episode where she figured out the stuff with like Joe being the framing of his murder and everything.
Yeah,
and
that episode.
Yeah, that was one of her best episodes. That's the one where Cecile also had that awful like thing or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, we can forget about that bit, but yeah, Iris was great, and I hope they stick to it.
As far as the two villains rising, I'm going to assume it's going to be from whatever changes to the timeline that happened in episode 5.
It's definitely going to be because of the timeline changes. I think that's going to be the main thing. Similar to like when Flashpoint happened at the start of season 3, you had the Rival come out of that. So that was a timeline change, and you know, Rival was in Flashpoint, and then he came into this new timeline, and in turn, I guess Savitar kind of came from it. I know it's not like directly related, but yeah, definitely connected in some way. So I think they're going to do a similar thing. So maybe we can look at the rest of the season by looking at what happened in season 3, because this is a new version of Flashpoint that's going on, and that Barry literally just changed at the end of the episode. So definitely big ramifications coming. So thank you, Radical Z, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you for sending that in. Okay, so if anyone else has anything else, please be sure to send them in.
What's next on the notes?
Let's go back to some of the notes. And, you know, you just brought it up, and I want to bring it up. But as it goes in Back to the Future, and as it goes in the actual song, The Power of Love went through this episode and was the reasoning for Iris being like, okay, you know, Barry, you know, I can't speak. Basically, it boosted Barry over like the limit, and he was able to run faster. Well, fast enough to change the timeline, essentially. So, you know, anyway, what I'm trying to get at is The Power of Love 1. And Eric, your thoughts, because I know that you don't have like a good history with.
Okay, so this is a question for you and for the chat, right? This is the question. So we established that Barry in this 2031 future is the Reverse Flash, and he's connected to the negative Speed Force. Presumably, in 2021, we know that Iris and Barry are directly connected to each other through the Speed Force, which means that this new Eobard Flash that we have in 2031 would also be connected with Iris to the Speed Force, presuming that they created a new one and they did it together or whatever. How did Iris boost Barry Allen's speed?
Maybe she's connected to the negative Speed Force.
But if that's the case, that would make her super OP. She could just take away Eobard's speed or whatever. It just didn't make any sense to me. That was a scene where it was like, this is why I had an issue with Iris in this episode out of the 4 episodes. This is the Iris West stuff that they do that drives me up the wall, because it's so unexplained, so metaphysical, so completely outlandish that it feels like it makes Iris a plot device. Like, definitely. In episode 3, we had Iris kicking ass, researching, finding stuff out, doing things that made sense, going to the Hall of Justice there with Dion and being present for that. All of that happened, and it made sense. In this episode, they had Iris loving Barry so much that he got faster, even though it was 2 completely different Speed Force. Not to mention, we didn't even talk about this, the way they were supposedly going to defeat Eobard was stop the anachronisms, which, by the way, there were no anachronisms. Anachronisms is an object out of time, not things changing like Flashpoint.
Yeah, I don't know why they brought up anachronisms.
Because Barry, when he was talking to Damian, he's like explaining to him that Eobard went back in time and changed history, and so now things are different. And Damian's like, he created an anachronism or something like that. And I'm like, no, it's not an anachronism.
What is an anachronism again?
So an anachronism is an example of anachronism would be like if I took my cell phone, we went time traveling, and I left this in like 1940, right? This object would change time because it was in 1940, right? So it would change the course of history. That's what an anachronism is. That object, the PED, the particle something device, eradication device or whatever, that they were trying to get, supposedly corrected objects that were placed out of time, or matter that was placed out of time. But that's not what happened here. What happened here is Eobard went back, changed 2013, and then went back and killed Barry as a child. Neither one of those are anachronisms. They're more of a paradox than an anachronism. Yeah. So that didn't make any sense. So that was the device that he needed to run fast and somehow fix everything. And so with that combined with the power of love, I was just like, who wrote this episode? Did Eric Wallace write all of them? Because this one feels very different from the first three, in my opinion.
Do you think that Eric wrote this one specifically?
I don't know. I mean, it felt so weird to me because there was so many huge glaring plot holes here. Not to mention someone in the chat brought up the one thing that I hope we're going to cover in episode 5, because I'm not judging it on this right now, is we've established when it comes to time travel with Speedster specifically, Jay Garrick told Barry that no matter how many times you try to fix something, when you change time, it never goes back to the way it is. You can never get it 100% back to the way it was. So by going back to 2021 with this PED device or whatever they have that supposedly changes everything, there's no way that can work because that's not how time travel has been established in the Arrowverse, specifically on the Flash. It was just bad. The scene was great. It was fun watching Eobard chase Barry. I mean, that was awesome. And watching them face, like, everything that they did was great. But this episode's story was just so awful. Like, it makes me mad because we've been doing so good. I was so excited about this episode. During the after party, I demonetized my own stream because I was so excited about this. Because I was expecting the quality that we had for the first 3 episodes. So
yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I definitely think they dropped some quality, especially with the writing when they kind of went into the power of love thing again. Because, you know, like you said, I think it is a plot device. It's a reason that doesn't make sense for things to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like whenever they need something explained, they say, "Oh, it's just love," you know?
Right.
And love powers everything. And
the correct way to fix this would have been for Barry to go back in time and stop Eobard from becoming the Flash. That would have been the way to fix this.
Yeah,
that was the way to fix this.
Punched him out of the way and got struck by lightning
and
again.
Bam, and then things go back to somewhat the way they were, but that's not what happened. So
yeah, well, actually, not him get struck by lightning, but grab his 2013 self and put.
Also, if this technology existed, then what purpose would the Wave Rider serve? That would have never even been built. That would have drastically changed the timeline because there would be no reason for time police if you have a device that can just correct issues in time. They could literally just send the device back, fix something, and never even interact with anybody. Yeah. So this also begs the question is moving forward, can they just fix changes in time with this PED device now? Is that what this is?
Maybe they're setting up. I don't know. I just came up with something. I was just thinking. So Thorne said he got struck by the lightning bolt that Barry got struck by, right? So that means that Barry obviously still exists in 2013. His life changed, right? But how does that version of Barry become so obsessed that he wants to become the Flash?
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
He has no reason. He has no connection to any of this.
Right. Eobard's obsession starts in the future where the Flash has been a thing for a really long time.
And you know, Eobard's version of the Flash is a new Flash. So I think that's another plot hole, how Barry could become Reverse Flash. I get it. It's really cool, and I love it myself. But when you think of it, like, how actually does he turn bad?
You want me to explain it to you how the writers want us to think of it?
Okay.
They want us to believe, as Despero believes, that our Barry, the one we know from 2021, has a mental breakdown and becomes a Reverse Flash, right? That's what they want us to believe. But that's not the timeline that Eobard is in. In Eobard's timeline, he's always been the Flash. So there was no mental breakdown for Barry to have in 2021 because Barry was never the Flash.
Yeah.
So once you realize that, it all falls apart. And that's the problem. The writers thought about this like, oh, we're going to make Barry evil because Eobard's going to go back and frame him. And then from 2021 to 2031, he's going to be evil, right? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I thought that was a possibility. Like, I thought maybe that's what was happening. But once Eobard explained that he actually replaced Barry all the way back in like 2013, 2014 as the Flash, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Because I thought for surely he had Team Flash brainwashed or something like that. Because that would make more sense. Not to mention, chat and Ben, where was the manipulation of the negative still force?
That never came up. Never came up. That was a plot device. That was just
Iris used that to figure out what was going on, and it literally had nothing to do with anything that Eobard did. Because if he's the Flash in 2031, he wouldn't be using the negative still force. He would be using the still force.
That's so true. Because he doesn't use the negative speed force in the future.
Nope.
He uses the speed force because he's the Flash.
Now, if he would have been the Flash but still used the negative speed force, I would have been like, okay, maybe. But
yeah,
that's not the case. He's actually using the regular speed force.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Also,
yeah,
when he gets back and confronts Despero, right?
Yeah.
They're back at Star Labs, and Despero is basically interrogating Cecile, and he's killed off like Team Flash members or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What happened to Black Lightning and Dion? Because they were at the end when Barry ran to 2031. Black Lightning was fighting Despero, and Dion was right there. What happened to those characters? Where'd they go?
Disappeared. I don't know. They should have been there to help out.
People wonder why I get so frustrated with the show. I mean, these are things that I notice right away when I'm watching it. I'm like, what is going on here? Like,
yeah.
I hope they answer some of this in episode 5. I'm hoping that they'll fix it and make it make sense. But we'll see.
Maybe they'll answer some of it. I don't think they're gonna answer everything for sure. Definitely not. But okay, we have a couple of super chats. Radical Z sends in another super chat. Thank you so much. Radical says, "How did Iris figure out Eobard was actually evil?"
Power of love.
Well, yeah, the power of love, but I don't think she actually figured out Eobard was evil. She had, I think, what they want us to believe is she just had an instinct, that connection, and that instinct just made her kind of trust Barry for like 1 second, because maybe the stuff he's saying isn't so crazy. Like maybe she has some sort of instinct that, because you remember our Iris is hopping between timelines. What happens if this version of Iris has like even a sliver of that? Whatever it is that she has.
It's possible, but I wish they would have mentioned that in the or somehow made that connection in the episode. The other thing is, if you have to think of it this way, guys. This would be like if Eobard showed up and had the same conversation with Iris. Would Iris hit Arbery with a weapon? That's the question.
Yeah.
That's why it's so difficult to believe. So I agree with you, Ben. I want to think that's the reason why, but also there doesn't seem to be any real connect. Like that's why stuff like that. There's certain things where I'm like diehard, like it doesn't work. Those are one of those things where I'm like, let's wait and see if episode 5 answers it and corrects it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's another important thing. Thanks so much for the super chat, Radical Z. Tina sends in the super chat. Thanks very much, Tina. Tina says, highlight and low light for the week for you both. Eric, you go.
Are we talking about for this week's Flash then? I guess just the episode?
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Highlight for me was obviously all of the stuff between Grant and Tom, Barry and Eobard. I loved every single one of those scenes. Whether the time travel made sense or not, I just really loved the two characters together. My low point for the week for me was everything to do with Alex, Allegra, Chester, and Ryan. I think it was just the weakest part of the episode. And, it was one of those things where it felt out of place for me in the episode. So
yeah. I pretty much line up with you. I think the stuff with Allegra and Chester was very, very random and very pointless, to be fair. Like, I know what they're setting up, but it was a waste of time. They could have done something else. So definitely the low light. And the highlight was for sure Reverse Flash and Barry, and specifically that reveal scene, because it was literally like Eobard just like, he was just handing him an L.
It gave me goosebumps as he was talking to Barry. I'm like, this is so freaky.
Yeah, I was kind of freaking out in the scene. Like, it was late in the night, and I was just there, and I was like, okay, Flash is coming on. And then suddenly we jump into it, and then literally right after the opening scene, we go to this scene, and I'm like, I'm awake. I'm just like fully into it. So yeah, I really like that. Okay, thanks very much, Tina. And let's move on to Cody, who sends in a $5 super chat. Thanks so much, Cody. And just a reminder to you guys, we are heading into the last 5 minutes or so of the stream. So send in any final super chats or questions you have, and we'll be sure to answer them. So Eobard's plan is so convoluted, it's not even funny. So I'm going to say, despite all of the flaws and the nitpicks, we can, like we've discussed in the stream, and, you discussed in your video, and I discussed some of them in my review. I'm going to say it's convoluted, but I enjoy it. I really like the reveal. I thought the reveal was cool. And yes, there's plot holes, but at the end of the day,
there's plot craters in this story.
Craters. But at the end of the day, would I take something, less plot holes, but like less interesting, and if they're like, no, we don't want to touch time travel because there's so many plot holes.
There was an easy way to fix the plan to make it work. I mean, there was a very simple fix. Just have it so he framed Barry in 2021. He came back as a Reverse Flash. He saved the city from Barry Allen. And then for the last 10 years, he'd been operating as the Flash, and Barry was the villain. That would have been the easiest way to make it not so convoluted. So I don't know why.
Now you say it. Yeah. Maybe that would be better, but who will know if that would ever happen? But
that would actually be compelling, because then if our Barry actually went through and killed those characters, I'd be like, what? Whoa. But it was a Barry we don't even know.
Yeah, it was a different Barry. Yeah, it makes it more personal if it's our Barry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
and then Despero's reason for going after him would have made sense, because now
Despero feels like a bit of a throwaway.
I know we're getting ready to end this, but here's the thing. Barry revealed to Despero that he was Barry at the end of episode 1, right? Like, so at the end, he shows his vulnerability, because that's the pep talk that they have. They don't really have a pep talk, but the conversation they have is like Barry needs to be who he is with Despero to show that he's not a villain. So he takes his mask off and he reveals that he's Barry Allen, right? Despero is from the 2031 Reverse Flashpoint timeline.
Yeah.
As far as he knows, in that timeline, the Flash is a hero. So why was he going after the Flash in 2021?
He's jumped into another timeline, by the way.
By the way, no, it wasn't. I also addressed that. I was like, how is he able to jump into a timeline that's being erased? That doesn't make any sense. If Despero traveled back to 2021 from his 2031, he would have been in the timeline where Reverse Flash was actually the Flash.
Yeah.
Besides that, though, but even if we assume that he could somehow jump to this other timeline, why was he after Barry Allen as the Flash? He would have been after Eobard, the Reverse Flash.
Yeah,
because the Reverse Flash is the one that causes Armageddon.
Exactly, and in that other version of the timeline, Barry will be in a Reverse Flash suit. So surely Despero would have been shocked to see Barry in a
regular Flash suit. Yeah. Also, Despero was able to detect changes in time just by a thought. He's like, "Yeah, I can detect a change in time." So why even all of this? When he came back, if he was in a different timeline, he would have been like, something's not right. I'm in a different timeline.
Good.
But he didn't.
Okay.
So that brings another issue to this episode, kind of, for me, unless episode 5 just pulls it all back in somehow, it kind of created an issue for me with this event. I was on board with everything, even the stuff that I didn't like. The stuff with Cecile, I'm like, okay, it's awful, but I still really love the episode or whatever. Like, I was on board with all of that, but this is why you have to have people that are thinking about this when they're writing these, like some sort of a guideline, like, okay, we can't do this because of this, that, and the other. Also, before we wrap this up, I know we're at the very end here. The whole point of season 1 is that Eobard cannot kill Barry, because then he will never become the Reverse Flash. So how is it he was able to kill Barry with no ramifications of him becoming the Reverse Flash? How was that even possible? That was the entire plot of season 1 and all the way up till Legends, because he needed the Spear of Destiny to do anything that way. Yeah. So there was no way for him to do that, because the changes to time would have prevented him from ever becoming the Reverse Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what happened to Harrison Wells? If Eobard is existing in 2031 as Eobard and he's not pretending to be Harrison Wells, which, by the way, he should have been, that would have made sense.
Yeah.
But he's there. What happened to Harrison Wells? And in this comment, that's also not accurate, because of the fact that it had been since 2013.
10 years.
Over 10 years. It had been like 15 years.
15 years. It would have been set by 15 years. So it definitely was set in stone.
We covered this earlier. Every time there's been a change where somebody's erased from existence, it happens pretty quickly. there's no way that it would have taken 15 years for Barry to get erased.
Yeah, because and this is a different version of Barry.
It would have actually been longer than 15 years because he killed him as a child, which means it would have been before 2013. So we're talking like 2 decades. It would have changed by then.
And now we're talking about plot holes. If Barry's getting erased, right, because this new timeline... Actually, wait, no. Eobard said Barry's getting erased because he killed him as a kid.
As a child, yep.
But he would have got rid of the Flash in his timeline, not our Barry.
Right.
Our Barry would have just erased because the timeline is setting, right?
Yes.
Or he would have just stayed. Yeah, so it would be the other Barry.
Well, the other problem is that the Barry that from 2031 timeline would have been the one to get erased. Our Barry was from another timeline, which he was not erased from time, meaning that it was a completely different Barry. So if you go even further, it makes even less sense.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, we're literally thinking of so many things. Definitely.
It could have been so simple, Eric Wallace.
Crazy.
It could have been so simple. All you had to do is do what I just said. Make it so that Eobard comes back and stops the Flash in 2021 and then becomes the Flash and Barry loses his mind and that's the story. Like, why all this other stuff? It was unnecessary.
Yeah. Well, maybe we know who should be the next showrunner of The Flash. Gary's here. Welcome, Gary. We are ending the stream, so if you have any final questions, please be sure to send it like right now because we just hit the hour mark and I appreciate you coming, Gary. So Gary says, is The Flash getting delayed later than March? So do we have any new news?
No, it's not because they've already filmed some of the episodes, so there's no way it gets delayed.
Yeah, they got it in the bag.
Yeah, they've got like maybe 5 or 6 episodes filmed, I believe, since they took their break.
I mean, well, if we're talking about like in the future, Superman and Lois just drops a new trailer. We won't really have time to go into it. Mm-hmm. But when is that coming out?
The Flash?
No, Superman and Lois.
Superman and Lois, January 7th, I believe.
Okay, so that's coming very fast, which is very exciting. But obviously the Flash isn't coming back till March, which is just crazy.
Well, no, it's not the 7th. I think it's the 5th. I think it's the 5th, January 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Or 11th. Is it 11th? Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me look.
11th, Arrowverse scene says.
Let me double check. Yeah, it's a Tuesday because it'll be a Tuesday, and when Flash comes back, it'll be on a Wednesday. Okay. So there we go. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we got Superman Lois, which is coming. Obviously, they filmed
and Naomi is coming as well.
And Naomi is coming. They haven't released a new trailer, I don't think.
No, there's a lot of drama about Naomi's actual like plot now because of stuff that's been said. So
well, because of Superman.
Because of just the whole plot, it seems like it's not going to be exactly the way the comics were. So it's going to be a very different show. So
we'll see. But yeah, no delays, Gary. Thanks for Super Chat. Gary sends another one.
We are madly proud of you, Gary.
We are madly proud of you, Gary. That is our answer to the question.
Also, everyone in the chat is talking about the timeline being not set in stone. We're not disagreeing with that. Like, we're not saying that's not the case. We're saying that he created a reverse flashpoint. So when Barry runs back to 2021, it would not be the 2021 that he came from. That's the problem. Like, it would be the 2021 that reverse flashpoint created.
Mm-hmm. So true. So true. Eric got his spotlight moment talking about that. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. That has been the live stream. And I mean, go check out Eric's review. It's quite a long review. Definitely some good stuff in there.
I'm going to start doing 45-minute reviews of my show.
He's going to do 45-minute reviews just for you guys. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of stuff to talk about in the episode. And I mean, this is just a snippet of what, it goes on in Eric's mind or went on this week. So, there's definitely more, and maybe it's a bit more in depth as well, in the review. So go check that out. That's on Eric's channel. Also, you can check out my review. I posted that 2 days ago, and I'm going to be having a proper trailer breakdown. I'm going to, talk about episode 5 tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and go check out Eric's channel. And after party tomorrow, I may be
Are you
there.
gonna be there? Are you gonna be there, Ben?
Maybe not. We'll
Okay.
see. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll let you guys know, and obviously I'll let Eric know. But yeah, Eric's definitely going to be live tomorrow. So, all right. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.